Iran sits on uranium, enough to fuel about 10 atomic weapons. Even after 12 days of US-Israeli strikes that Trump calls obliteration, Tehran vows no talks under humiliation. Washington vows no Iranian bomb, ever. When diplomacy is declared dead, does deterrence become destiny? The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog has confirmed what many feared but few wanted to say out loud. Iran still possesses enough enriched uranium to build 10 nuclear weapons if it chooses to take that final step. Rafael Grossi, who leads the International Atomic Energy Agency, revealed in an interview with Swiss newspaper Le Temps.
Iran still has enriched uranium, specifically 400 kilos enriched to 60%, just short of weapons grade. If it took these steps, Iran would have enough fuel for about 10 atomic bombs. But we have no evidence that Tehran was seeking nuclear weapons. To ensure that this is not the case, inspections must resume.
American and Israeli forces had launched a 12-day military campaign against Iranian nuclear facilities, striking key sites at Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed afterward that Iran had decided to race toward building nuclear weapons. The assertion contradicted earlier American intelligence assessments, and Iran has consistently denied seeking atomic arms. When pressed about the damage those strikes inflicted, Grossi described it as severe, but he warned against assuming the problem had been solved through force.
While US President Donald Trump speaks of obliteration, Iran's technical know-how has not vanished.
What makes this moment particularly precarious is that both sides appear to be talking past each other. Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking in Jerusalem while working to shore up the Gaza ceasefire, laid out the American position with remarkable directness.
The President of the United States has been very clear about our policy with regards to Iran. It's that he actually wants Iran to be prosperous. He wants to have good relations with the Iranians, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. And so we're going to keep on using and exhausting every diplomatic means possible to try to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. That's our focus, and that will remain our focus for the indefinite future.
Those words might sound encouraging, a commitment to diplomacy over renewed military action. But in Tehran, they land differently. Iran's intelligence minister, Esmail Khatib, rejected the entire framing of Trump's approach.
Enemies have replaced peace through strength with surrender through crime, creating conditions through spectacle and propaganda to manipulate public opinion against us. The phrase peace through strength reflects the very crimes they committed in Gaza, in Syria, and Lebanon, and in our own country where they martyred more than 1,000 people.
Meanwhile, Abbas Araghchi stood before reporters in Mashhad and delivered a message that left little room for misinterpretation. Iran will not return to negotiations with the United States unless Washington abandons what he described as excessive and unreasonable demands.
We are facing people who have never been committed to diplomacy. In addition to the previous experiences, we had 2 experiences this year. One was negotiations that were established, 5 rounds were held, and during the negotiations, a military attack was carried out, and the United States both supported and joined. And then in New York, the grounds for negotiations and the grounds for finding a reasonable solution based on mutual interests were absolutely there, but again with the excessive and unreasonable demands of the American side, these negotiations did not come to fruition. Therefore, as long as this spirit of this approach exists, these bitter experiences exist in relation to negotiations with the United States. It is natural that we will not be able to re-enter negotiations unless this approach changes.
Yet Araghchi was careful to maintain that Iran has not closed the door entirely.
We are in contact with Mr. Witkoff through intermediaries sending messages. Our position is clear. The Islamic Republic of Iran, of course, is for peace and diplomacy. We have always shown that we are committed to diplomacy and peaceful solutions. But this does not mean that we are abandoning the rights of the Iranian people.
Araghchi also laid out what Tehran considers acceptable terms.
They should accept that they should enter negotiations based on mutual interests, based on mutual respect, from an equal position, negotiations that aim to find diplomatic and peaceful solutions to the problems that exist. If they want to try other paths, they have already tried them and failed.
While this war of words continues, Iran is making moves on another front that could reshape its international standing. President Masoud Pezeshkian signed into law the country's conditional accession to the UN Convention for the Suppression of the Financing of Terrorism. The timing is hardly coincidental. The Financial Action Task Force begins its plenary session in Paris tomorrow, and Iran's Financial Intelligence Unit Chief, Hadi Khani, has travelled there for the first time in 6 years. This marks Iran's attempt to align with international financial standards and potentially reconnect with global banking systems. But the devil lives in the details. Parliament and the Expediency Council attached conditions that could limit the law's impact. Iran will act only within the framework of its constitution, and where any provision of the convention conflicts with national laws, domestic legislation will take precedence. Supporters believe joining the convention could help Iran attract investment and ease its financial isolation. Hardliners warn it risks exposing financial channels used to evade American sanctions and fund regional allies. The move comes as European countries, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, triggered the resumption of UN sanctions on Tehran last month after Iran suspended cooperation with nuclear inspectors. These new measures will pile additional pressure on an economy already struggling under the weight of sanctions. Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baghi summed up Iran's current posture with stark clarity.
We must use all tools to protect the country's rights, whether through missiles or diplomacy and negotiation.
That statement captures the essence of where things stand. Iran remains within the international framework, still talking, still signing conventions, still allowing some level of inspection. But it also refuses to negotiate from what it perceives as a position of weakness, and it maintains the capability to enrich uranium further should it choose that path.